And welcome to a special edition of Omega Movie Reviews, because we just got done doing Dark Phoenix, and then we kept talking about the X-Men because we both love the X-Men, but we ran out of battery power, so we're going to make this into its own episode, starting right now.
Because we're not technically talking about Dark Phoenix, we're just talking about X-Men in the Marvel Universe.
We're done talking about Dark Phoenix, and now we want to talk about good X-Men.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Stewart.
So the reason why the X-Men were never in the Marvel Universe because they're owned by Sony?
Yeah, so Sony owns the rights to make movies about the X-Men, Spider-Man, and I think another part of it. See, Marvel, when they started making movies, they didn't have any money to fund a movie, so they had to partner up with Sony to do it, and that's where we got the original 3 Spider-Man movies and all of the X-Men movies, which made a different Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's different than the Marvel Universe that we've seen those 15 other movies come out.
Right. And Marvel's been trying to get X-Men back, but Sony won't let them have it back. Is that sort of...
Yeah, they had and I don't know what the numbers are or what the deal is, but...
We were just talking about the fact that Wolverine and Beast were members of the Avengers, and how awesome would it have been to drop Wolverine and Beast, especially in the Endgame movies. Just, there you go, here's the 2 biggest fighters in the X-Men.
Oh, absolutely. Not having Wolverine anywhere in the MCU was just stupid.
Yeah.
And it almost, I mean, for the casual viewer, you would think, oh, okay, the X-Men must be DC or something, because why aren't they in the Avenger movies?
Yeah, they're not in the Avenger movies. I mean, Tony Stark never says anything about Xavier, because, I mean, Xavier's got some money. So I've always thought that Xavier has kind of a link up to Tony Stark, because, I mean, you look at the X-Jet.
Yeah, who made that?
Who made that? That is some futuristic Tony Stark laboratory makings right there. And Tony Stark never mentions the X-Men. He never mentions Xavier. And I think there would be a huge crossover. And I think Wolverine, in a couple of the comic book, teams up with Spider-Man. I could totally be wrong, but I recall something about Spider-Man being kind of like, what's your deal? Why are you all mad, Wolverine?
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of sad that, you know, X-Men is sort of this forgotten little cousin that gets stored under the stairs, and then there's this...
Because of legal issues.
Because of legal issues.
And that's just stupid.
And then you have this big, huge Marvel comic book juggernaut that's steamrolling everything.
And they can't even use Juggernaut, because Sony owns
Juggernaut. It. And then you have no X-Men at all. Ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, you wouldn't have used them in every movie. You wouldn't expect the X-Men to show up in a Thor movie or...
No, but if they were blended together, like the other ones, they were all part of this tapestry that resulted in the Avengers, you know, where you got...
Endgame and the other... What was the other one?
Age of Ultron and...
Yeah.
The Infinity War.
Yeah, the Infinity War and Endgame. And then you have these huge, massive battles that are going on all over the planet. And no X-Men. I mean, that whole fight in New York City with the space... Was that Age of Ultron? Where they came through the portal and they had the big mech, weird alien suits?
I think that one was the Avengers.
Okay, so, I mean, New York City is being destroyed, and...
Yeah, the X-Men. Well, maybe they're all on Asteroid M. They're all on Asteroid M, and they're just watching.
Yeah, no X-Men.
Magneto was right, so they're all hooked up with Magneto, and they're just waiting for humanity to get wiped out.
No X-Men when New York City's being destroyed. No X-Men when that city in Croatia was getting sucked up into outer space. No X-Men when they were looking for the Infinity Cubes.
No Phoenix to help.
I mean, it is sad. It is sad
No,
because
it is sad.
I'm a fan of X-Men.
Yeah.
That was like the first comic book that I ever got into and read. And then you watch all these amazing Marvel movies, and you're like, where is Wolverine? Where's Storm? Where's Professor X? And they're not there, and it's sad. I think
My
it's sad.
first comic book was Ninja Turtles.
They didn't show up in any of the Marvel
I know.
movies.
Where were they? They live in New York. I guess they were in the sewers.
They were getting marshmallow pizza.
And where was the Technodrome? Unbelievable. So anyways, eventually the MCU will get the rights back to their property, and we're gonna see another startup of the X-Men with another group of cast members, and then you're gonna end up with the original good 3 movies, 3 forgotten movies, and then the new alignment X-Men movies.
But they wouldn't have been in the whole 20 years of Marvel comic or Marvel movies.
No, they'll be in the Phase 4, and a lot of people are saying that it topped out at
Endgame.
Endgame was and will forever be the highest viewed Marvel movie, and they'll all decline from there.
Well, you went big, and now Marvel is scrambling to find superheroes and other comic books to make movies about, but they're kind of standalone characters. They're not... The reason why I think the Marvel movies work is because they are interwebbed together. You've got Tony Stark taking on Spider-Man as his underling.
Yeah.
You've got Doctor Strange, who fits in there somehow, but
I don't know.
you know, you've got Captain America, who works for Shield. You've got Tony Stark funding Shield. They're all like,
And that MCU, it's like there are no mutants
right.
at all in the Marvel movies.
Well, I mean, I would say Captain America was a mutant.
Well,
I mean, not technically on the books mutant, but I mean, he took that weird, freaky serum that turned him from a scrawny kid to a big superpower, and I would say he's a mutant, even if it's not genetic.
biological, yeah.
He got mutated into being this super strong, agile guy.
Oh, what about the Hulk? Well, I guess he's the same thing though, because the gamma rays made him.
But he can also transform and change. So
they're mutant-like. But maybe they'll bring in the X-Men into the MCU with the people becoming mutants, because that all stemmed from the atomic bomb mutating the genetic DNA of the humans into the Homo superior.
yeah.
So maybe something else, and then that's how they'll come about, and then they'll have to reboot the thing.
And I mean, Spider-Man's a mutant. He got bit by a radioactive spider and got mutated into being able to fling webs out of his wrist or wherever. So I would classify as a mutant because he's not quite human. I don't. It's sad because it's like in the MCU universe, everyone is a friend of a friend.
Yeah, and how they twined them all together.
Yeah,
to that
for
tapestry.
Sure.
It was beautifully done, and you left out this whole section that should have been there.
Yeah, you left
from
out
the
part
beginning.
Of the rainbow.
Yeah, you left out the color purple in the rainbow.
Yeah, because it would have been super awesome to see Wolverine in the fight scene in Wakanda. I mean,
Yeah.
how awesome would that be to have him going on chopping off alien heads?
And tell him you're Stormlink.
Oh, so I was thinking, because Wakanda has been hidden away and nobody really knows that it's there, that Storm might be a daughter of Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
She might have been a citizen of Wakanda, and then her parents were on vacation or something out of Wakanda, and they ended up getting killed, and she was so young that she just didn't know where she was from and forgot where she was from, and grew up on the streets in, I think, Cairo, if I can remember right. And it would have been neat to have her be there, and maybe a citizen of Wakanda, you know, an older, you know, grandma type citizen, recognizes her and says, you know, Aurora, whatever. Well, I think her last name was Monroe, but I think that was her adopted last name. And be like, are you the daughter of so-and-so? And she's like, yeah, and you're a daughter of Wakanda, you know. But I don't think necessarily that the Wakanda people are mutants. I wouldn't say that they were.
No, but that the thing that made all them mutants was the atom, the atomic bomb,
Right.
and gamma rays.
But they're super tech. They're super tech, and they're hidden away from the rest of the world because they're like a city, like...
They're kind of like Atlantis.
Yeah, exactly. And it would have been interesting if somehow they could have tied Storm into being a daughter of Wakanda.
Yeah.
You know, the X-Men comic books didn't... I don't even know if Black Panther was written yet. But you could plausibly say that she was from Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
And be correct. I don't know. I'm missing actual good X-Men.
Yeah. We haven't had one in so long. And every time we get a new X-Men movie, I'm looking for a good Rogue. Come on.
And Rogue hasn't been in any of the first class ones. She's completely missing.
Yeah. Which I guess is fine.
And so is Wolverine, by the way. Wolverine isn't in the new first class movies. Because nobody wants to try and be Hugh Jackman. Because anyone taking on the mantle of Wolverine will be obliterated because their performance will be compared to Hugh Jackman.
And Hugh Jackman will kill them.
And they don't want to do it. I mean, you have this iconic man who played Wolverine beautifully.
Yep.
And then you're gonna 2 decades.
2 decades.
And then you're gonna step into the role of Wolverine. You've gotta have some.
We're gonna hold off on talking about Logan because I want to watch that again. That was really well done.
Which is funny because I actually didn't like that one originally because I didn't get it, and then I started thinking about it and I'm like, oh, that's sad. Yeah, so Hugh Jackman did the first 3 X-Men, and then he did 3 Wolverine standalone movies, which were really good.
I know, but you know, but it's just it's just aggravating that he put in 20 years and is completely ignored by the MCU because of freaking copyright law and rights and issues and crap.
I mean, how crazy would the fanboys have gotten if Hugh Jackman got plunked down in the middle of the Wakanda fight, even if it was like 30 seconds or a couple of minutes? I mean, that would be an Easter egg onto itself if you had spotted Hugh Jackman slicing up aliens.
I have to say, during that Wakanda fight, I was looking for the Blackbird.
Yep.
The whole time.
Yep.
I was looking for the Blackbird to come dropping them off, and let's go.
And I mean...
Schneek.
And then the Thor and the Thunder thing that he's got, I mean, if you had Storm up there flying around, could have, like, super boosted his Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And vaporized all those little alien things that were coming into Wakanda. I mean, that would have been awesome.
Well, you know, the problem would have been they would have killed Thanos right there, and then they wouldn't have had another movie.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Storm is susceptible to getting knocked out, and Wolverine would have been dogpiled by a bunch of little aliens.
And Rogue would have been crying in the Blackbird by herself.
I can't touch people.
Oh no.
I don't want to kiss you, Bob, because I'll get all frozen.
I guess she could fly the jet. That's some kind of ability.
Well, technically, Rogue can actually fly. It kind of.
Well,
Yeah.
not in the movies.
I can't touch you. All I want to do is touch you, Bobby.
Oh, Bobby.
Oh,
Ay,
man.
ay.
Yeah. So no Wolverine or Storm fighting off aliens in Wakanda. That sucked. It sucked.
That was dumb.
That was dumb. And I was hoping that maybe Sony would have said, okay, you can have Hugh Jackman, Wolverine for 2 minutes in Wakanda. I was
and cut
really,
us a check.
Cut us a check.
Yeah.
You can have him. Maybe we'll get Hugh Jackman back, hopefully. And you can have him for,
Because, I mean, shoot, Endgame made like $1 billion. It was insane the amount of money that movie made. They could have done something.
Right. And they didn't. And that sucks.
And I'm not saying it's the MCU that didn't try. Or, I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know what the problem was. But it was definitely, a lot of people dropped the ball.
Yeah. And I don't think
Think of the action figures.
I don't think that we're wrong in thinking that the X-Men should have been woven into the MCU for the last 20 years.
No, we're not wrong.
We're
right.
I don't think that... I think that it would have been really nice to have the Avengers be as many people... The original Avengers out of the comic book should have been the people that were in the comic books, which was Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wolverine
And plus, because we didn't have a good X-Men movie for a while, and it would have been nice to see what they had been doing for a while, which would have been just a couple of lines.
Yeah, you didn't
with
have
Beast,
to get...
I've been working for Tony Stark for 10 years,
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah.
Beast totally would have been working for Tony Stark if he wasn't in the basement at Xavier's Institute.
Yeah.
He was like super brain.
Or he could have been his diplomatic officer, or, whatever.
Yeah, Tony Stark could have gone down to the R&D lab and had Beast in the background in a lab coat working on something secret for the government.
Even like that Deadpool movie. When he went to the mansion and everyone was inside there. And,
Oh, yeah.
and they quietly closed the door. Even that would have been something,
So is Deadpool owned by Sony too? Is that
Yep.
why Deadpool didn't show up in the MCU universe?
Deadpool was that third franchise I couldn't remember. Because he's based on, he's an X-Men spin-off character.
Right.
So he falls in their genre.
We don't talk about Deadpool being in the Wolverine movies. Because they didn't do it. The only thing
Well, they sort of did.
No. The only thing they did right with Deadpool in the Wolverine movie is that they kept Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the Wolverine movie. Ryan Reynolds gets turned into Deadpool, if you didn't know. And how he got turned into Deadpool is really dumb, because the Deadpool movies have it spot on. They redid his backstory. But they kept the actor, which I thought was really cool, because Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
And he was Weapon X, right?
He was Weapon X in the
10th weapon.
Yeah.
He was the 10th weapon.
That, I think, is the first Wolverine standalone movie. I think that is the basis of that movie.
Yeah.
Is him, Hugh Jackman, finding out what Weapon X was. And they basically grabbed up Deadpool, and I can't remember his name when he's not Deadpool.
What weapon was Wolverine? He was one too, wasn't he?
I think he was 8.
Okay. And Sabretooth was another one.
Yeah, and they didn't touch on that. Or the fact that Sabretooth is actually, according to the comic books, Logan's brother.
Half-brother.
Right. His dad, yeah.
Brother by a different mother, but they had the same father.
Yep.
Who was a deadbeat dad.
Yep. Yeah, and they didn't mention.
Don't be a deadbeat dad.
They
or
didn't
Wolverine
mention
might
that
kill you.
in the first X-Men movie that Sabretooth was actually related.
Was it Wolverine killed his dad or Sabretooth killed his dad?
Wolverine killed...
They hated Wolverine, right? Because Sabretooth and the
Yes.
dad were close, and they didn't like Wolverine because he was scrawny. Right?
No, the origin of it is...
I think we did a video on
We did.
Wolverine's dad.
Wolverine's origin story
We should remember the own videos we make.
starts back in like 1875.
Yeah, he's really old.
And his parents, Wolverine's parent, Thomas Logan,
There it is.
Sabretooth's dad is basically their gardener. And Sabretooth and Wolverine were friends as kids. They're out in the middle of Canada and they're, boys, and they just got along. And then it comes to light that Wolverine isn't his son, and basically finds out that his wife was with Sabretooth's dad. And then there's a conflict, and Wolverine gets in the middle of it and ends up, I think, killing his biological father, and then getting chased off by the townsfolk as a freak, and goes off and loses memory because of the whole Weapon X thing.
Now here's a question. Because
Yes.
they're children of the atom, but he's from the 1800s.
Gotta think about that. Yeah.
So that's proof they had blasted an atomic bomb in the 1890s?
Nice.
Well, maybe Alien did. Maybe it was the alien. Or maybe a time travel.
Maybe that mutation gene has always been present in our biology, but it didn't get boosted until the atomic.
Ah.
It's like a recessive gene, but it only pops up every 100,000 people. But then when we drop the nukes, that recessive gene got boosted, and then more mutants got born.
Well, maybe Wolverine and Sabretooth aren't mutants, but they're Eternals. Like, frickin'
No
What's
cussing.
his name? What's his name? Star-Lord. Star-Lord's dad.
Oh yeah.
Maybe their dad was Kurt Russell. Because remember, he went to Earth a whole bunch of times.
Yeah. Trying to make a super baby.
Yeah. So maybe they're not mutants, they're half Eternals. Because neither one of them age.
True.
And they're both got superpowers, sort of.
Sort of. Well, Sabretooth...
There, see, we nailed it right there. You're welcome.
Well, Sabretooth in one of the movies just could grow really nasty claws. And it wasn't until... Well, the first movie goes back to him being all freaky and hairy and more
Just
Sabretooth-like.
big, ugly guy.
But that got boosted with the whole Weapon X program. Because the Wolverine movies, as good as they were as standalone movies, they kind of filmed things out of order. To me,
Yeah.
a little bit. Like the first one...
Well, because they didn't know they were going to get more than one.
Right.
Like a good trilogy, you don't usually...
You have to have all that written out before you start making the first one.
Yeah, and then a lot of times you're testing the waters, so you'll just go full bore on whatever you got and, dam the cannon and try to make a good movie. And then if they like it, then you can sort of design parts 2 and 3, like Back to the Future.
Well, because the original X-Men, the first one was definitely a standalone movie, but then the 2 and 3 are basically a be continued. Because you got Phoenix sort of at the end of number 2, and then she comes back in number 3 being all weird.
Oh man, you remember we watched all the X-Men in the theater, except for Logan, because we're too old. But I remember seeing that Phoenix shape under the water at the end of 2, and just going, oh man, I can't wait for number 3.
Yeah, number 3 was
That
kind
was a
of...
teaser.
Yeah, number 3 was basically obliterated the entire Marvel or entire X-Men
Yeah, that was.
storyline. And I didn't like 3 as much
I
because
still see Patrick Stewart getting
vaporized.
vaporized. That was just horrible.
And they didn't really say what happened to Scott. You just assume that she vaporized him too.
Yeah, but I didn't really care about that.
Yeah. He's never liked Scott.
Well, he cries too much.
And he can't cry. His tears get vaporized before they get outside of the glasses.
Yeah, but you know he's crying all the time. You just can't tell because his tears are getting vaporized.
Yeah, but he walks around being all, she doesn't love me. Where?
Wolverine keeps stealing my motorcycle.
And my car.
Yeah.
And my girl.
And his girl.
And smoking in the house.
He steals the girl and then kills her.
Yeah, the book, I read the book based on the movie, and that was that scene is way nastier than it is in the movie. Like, she like rips out his organs and he's got guts hanging out and brains hanging out, and he's like, I love you, and she's like, you die for them, and he's like, no,
died for you.
I died for you. Yeah, so the third X-Men movie, they completely obliterated the X-Men because Professor X is dead, Scott's dead, Jean's dead, Logan's all weirded out and gone.
Rogue loses her power.
Yeah. And then at the end of the third X-Men movie, they were talking about Moira McTaggart.
Yeah.
She basically was talking about this brain-dead guy that was her patient, and, you know, if you could put someone's consciousness that was physically limited in a wheelchair into this perfectly good body to reboot the brain, would you? I mean, morally, would you? And at the end of the third movie, you see this guy kind of move, and I think she says Charles.
Yep.
And you're thinking to yourself, okay, the fourth X-Men is going to be Charles taking over this random guy's body and coming back. And
Which
then
there's your Charles Xavier being a jerk.
Yeah. And then they don't come back with the fourth part. They reboot the X-Men movies and title it First Class, which is based in the 60s and the 90s. With completely different people. And they're like 18 years old. But we've been watching from the beginning the MCU movies in order of when they were released. And I think we're halfway done.
Yeah. Well, we watched them all when they came out, but we're rewatching them. But due to the we've been renting them at the movie store, but they're shut down at the moment.
I think we got to 2012.
Yeah. I think we're about ready to get Age of Ultron. Is about where we're at.
Yeah, I think I remember that one being a good one.
Yeah, because Daniel was in it from Stargate.
Well, not just that, but there was that sort of Jeeves character.
Yeah.
And he gets the
Jarvis.
Jarvis. He gets that crystal in his head and becomes basically sentient, which he's a big part of the Endgame, you know, because Black Widow doesn't want him. No, Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch doesn't want him to get his face ripped off.
The Black Widow does want his face ripped off.
I get Scarlet Witch and Black Widow confused.
Oh, come on.
I do, I'm sorry. I know, the actresses don't even look similar.
That's a funny one, too, because Scarlet Witch is
a mutant.
brothers or sisters with Quicksilver.
Yep.
And Quicksilver's in the Sony universe, and his sister is in the Marvel universe.
But they did have Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Oh, was he?
He was. But it's a completely different actor than in the X-Men movies.
He was so memorable, I forgot.
Yeah, they show, because that's why she's all messed up, because he died in the battle in Croatia or Bulgaria, wherever that battle was, where they were taking part of the city up into space.
He was not fast enough.
That's why she's super pissed off for most of the movies. Because her brother died. Mm-hmm. And she's a flat out mutant. Her red witch power is a mutation. That's not, she's in.
That's true. Hey, there you go. So we got one mutant in the MCU.
Confirmed mutant in the MCU.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I think this is a success then.
So she's the only one that survived.
She's the only mutant in the MCU.
Nice.
Well.
And she wasn't in the X-Men. I don't think they showed her in the X-Men.
Hey, yeah, but they got Quicksilver.
But how did Quicksilver end up being in the Marvel universe, or the X-Men universe, and they don't have any mention of the fact that he has a twin sister who's a Scarlet Witch? I mean, that's pretty screwed up, though, that they split up a set of twins, and one's in the X-Men universe, and one is in the MCU universe, and they don't even...
Yeah. And we're back with more X-Men discussion time with the Omegas. Only on Omega or Day.
Now that I want to watch Age of Ultron to see if Quicksilver was in it, because I remember him being in it. That's why she's all messed up and mad. Because she didn't want to use her powers. She didn't want to be recruited by Tony Stark. But then her brother gets squished with a building, I think, or a bridge.
I don't know.
And she gets all mad and goes all Scarlet Witch on people.
I forget a lot of movies.
Apparently. But it's weird. It doesn't make sense to me how did she end up in the MCU universe? How did Sony let that go?
Maybe they bought her. Maybe they did what we were saying, that they could buy an X-Men or something. And
But I mean, how is Scarlet Witch more of a character for the MCU than Wolverine?
Well, yeah, but there might be a huge price point difference. A Wolverine might cost you $1 million to use him, and the Scarlet Witch maybe $10,000.
Yeah, that doesn't really, because she was in a lot of the Avenger movies. She was like a main cast member, and they don't really mention the fact that her dad is Magneto.
And now she's getting WandaVision, a new series on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. The Wakanda Vision.
WandaVision.
WandaVision. Nice. I don't know, I think there's this huge link that you could have drawn between Tony Stark and Xavier.
Yeah, and
SHIELD. I mean...
Yeah, because I think SHIELD might have been hunting mutants, maybe.
We haven't even talked about SHIELD, which... He hasn't seen any of the show on ABC of SHIELD at all.
It was really boring.
I'm actually caught up to the new season. I'm waiting for the new season to come out on Netflix, or maybe I saw it already.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think the first 2 or 3 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they are sort of in the MCU universe, because they've got Coulson going between the movies and the show. And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sort of jumped the shark, and went into outer space and time travel and more aliens and stuff, which is kind of...
Oh, well, that sounds good.
Weird.
Well, now I'm interested.
But, you've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you've got, what was the... Coulson. You've got Coulson showing up in Iron Man. He's talking to Penny. He's talking to Tony, and then you've got Nick Fury, who is the lead of S.H.I.E.L.D., basically. You've got him showing up in all of the movies. And, you've got that woven into a show that is actually currently still on television.
Yeah, that's true.
Except that,
and I think it's on Netflix.
Samuel L. Jackson isn't in the show on ABC. They couldn't afford him, I'm assuming.
Probably not. That was dumb how he lost his eye.
I think that was pretty funny, actually.
I thought that was dumb.
That
I didn't
was-
like the cat. I thought that was stupid.
That was Captain Marvel. If you didn't know, he got scratched by an alien cat, and they're like, it's just a scratch, and then he loses his eye. I don't know if that's true to the comic books, though.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. But it was kind of funny. And
I always thought he got the eye shot out or something.
Well, he's got the scratches on his eye in the movie.
Actually, you know what I thought? Speaking of scratches, I thought, cool, there's a Wolverine link. Maybe Wolverine scratched his eyes out. And then when I saw Thanos with those 3 scratches on the side of his head, I said, there you go, Wolverine. Only adamantium can scratch his skin.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
But no.
But no. Yeah, so you got agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. running around talking to Tony Stark. And they're involved with, almost practically directly involved in Captain America. I mean, wasn't Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started with Tony Stark's dad in World War II to fund the Captain America project?
I don't know about that.
And then you got them, when they find Captain America frozen for 60 years, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. basically take over his training, and then he becomes the lead of the Avengers, which is an arm of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. That sounds right.
And Tony Stark basically funds S.H.I.E.L.D. in a roundabout way. Gives them tech and stuff. Future alien tech.
Who was that guy? He played Batman. The first Batman. Damn. He was like one of my favorite Batmans.
Mr. Mom. He was in Mr. Mom.
Yeah. Crap.
Google it real quick.
No, that's cheating.
Okay, so what... Yeah, because Batman's...
Not Val Kilmer.
Just Google it. It's gonna bug you.
Michael
Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Oh, see, we can do it. We don't need the computer. So Michael Keaton played a guy in. Dude, Michael Keaton was a alien tech harvester for the government with the Shield. He worked for Shield, and then built a bunch of... It was in the Spider-Man movie, right?
I don't know where you're going with this. He might have been. That would have been interesting.
Wasn't he Green Goblin?
No. That was that weird guy.
I think he built a suit out of the alien stuff.
He wasn't Doc Ock either. That would be a...
Oh crap! What movie was that?
That would be an...
Was that a dream?
Tie-in with the DC and Marvel if you had original Batman as a tech in the background.
No, I think it was just a hallucination at work.
That's an Easter egg. Fine, Michael Keaton.
Anyways, Michael Keaton was in the MCU, possibly.
And that's why we like comments, because we...
Yeah, let us know.
Don't have Google in front of us to check on this stuff.
Nah, checking on it's stupid. Who cares about the facts?
Yeah.
But anyways, I liked Michael Keaton, and I thought it was cool that he was in one of the movies
Maybe.
that I can't remember. And whatever he did, I thought was cool. Vulture! He was the Vulture. And it was a Spider-Man movie, because Spider-Man villains are all animal-based.
That's creepy to know.
Yeah.
So where does Venom fit into all of this? Because
Yeah.
Venom is like one of the basic bad guys for Spider-Man. And then they did a Venom movie, and I wasn't really interested in seeing Venom. I was also not interested in seeing Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange is like one of my favorites.
That was super
at the MCU.
good.
And then they made the Venom movie, and I really like the guy who plays Venom. He's got a really neat voice, I think. And
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
Booyah! I got one.
And he's very much... He doesn't look like he would be a leading man.
He's not as good as Michael Keaton, though.
He's kind of short and stocky and looks kind of like a brawler, and then he's in this Venom movie, and I was like, I don't really like... Spider-Man really isn't my thing.
No.
Except the... Tom Holland, who's playing Spider-Man now, is really good at Spider-Man. And so when they did the Venom movie, I was like, I don't really want to watch it, but you know, we're MCU junkies, so we watch pretty much anything that gets done. And then we watched Venom, and it was super good.
That was really, really good.
It was really well done. It was really good. It was pretty much, from what I could recall, true to the canon.
We'll do a Venom review.
And so, how does he? Who owns Venom?
Sony.
But Marvel owns Spider-Man.
No, Spider-Man's on loan from Sony.
Ah.
That they did that thing we were talking about with
So they
the
bought
X-Men.
They bought
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man instead of Wolverine.
Yeah, I think so. And that could have even been because I doubt Hugh Jackman would have turned it down, but I bet Hugh Jackman would have cost way more than the kid they got for Spider-Man.
Yeah, but the thing too is Hugh Jackman, from what I have seen from interviews, he had played Wolverine for 20 years. He's in his mid-50s now, and he just basically said, you know what, I'm gonna leave on a high with a good movie and say goodbye to Wolverine and 20 years as Wolverine, and I'm just gonna stop. And I think...
But to be fair, he said that like 50 times.
No.
Every movie he
No.
says, this is the last time I'm going to be Wolverine.
He didn't. He was all up for doing the 3-parter Wolverine. He wanted to finish the Wolverine story as him. He wanted that. He wanted to finish it up. And then when he did the 3rd Wolverine movie, where he's, you know, I don't want to give away Logan because I think we're going to do a review on it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm done. You know, go out on a high note. Go out on a good movie. Finish your story arc. I'm done doing Wolverine. And he has tons of other projects that he wants to do, that he's wanted to do, but he's been tied down with Wolverine.
Yeah, that one where he played a magician was really good.
That was. I love that movie. Not the Magnificent.
Wasn't he Tesla? Or worked for Tesla?
It was kind of based around Tesla.
And the transporter duplicator?
Yeah, he was...
It's like if you combined a transporter and a duplicator in the 1800s, what would happen?
Ed Norton.
And you were a magician?
Maybe that wasn't Ed Norton.
What if you were a magician and you built a transporter duplicator and then make a movie about it?
Yeah. I thought that was really good. I like to get to the end of the movie and not know what the heck is going on, instead of seeing the plot 20 minutes in and going, oh yeah, so that's the bad guy, and he wants to do this, and he wants to do that. That's why I like the spooky horror genre, because I don't see it coming. I don't. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, what? I like movies that when you're done, it flips over in your brain and you think you had some sort of aneurysm, and you're like, I did not see that coming at all. That's awesome.
That is pretty neat, and sometimes after a couple of days...
You're still thinking about it.
Yeah, that is true. There's so many movies today where it's... I swear, sometimes I'll watch a modern movie, you know, yesterday, and the next day I can't remember what the title was or what it was about or if Vulture was in it or not. And it's just... I don't know. It's just sad when, you know, it has zero impact on you at all. And we'll be right back after this. And we're back. Don't forget to check out the history of Marvel. Also available on Omega Ordain.
Yay. I never did that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did. I did the first little batch and got busy with the Star Trek and Stargate and Babylon 5 and 20 other shows.
And then I got recruited for it.
And then nobody watched it. No.
Nobody watched my video.
Why didn't you guys watch it? Come on.
Oh, I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about
No, you were talking
You
about.
were talking about Michael Keaton being the Vulture.
No, I was talking about Venom and where he fit into the.
Oh, in the MCU?
Yeah, and then you went off on.
The Vulture and Michael Keaton?
That was like 5 minutes ago.
Highway.
Oh, popcorn movies. The ones that you watch where you don't remember them the next day or a week later. I call those popcorn movies.
Oh, okay.
You make your popcorn, you sit down, you watch a movie for a couple of hours, and it's fun. You got a little enjoyment out of it, and
Turn your brain off.
turn your brain off. Eat your popcorn. It's a popcorn movie. It's not. It's not a movie that you're going to be thinking about weeks later, months later, years later. You know, there's movies that I watched as a teen that I still remember to this day.
Like Titanic.
No.
Oh, come on.
Just to be a spoiler, the ship sinks at the end.
Remember that guy said that to us while we were waiting in line to see Titanic?
That was hilarious.
That was so funny because we're standing in line for Titanic, and in 1997,
Yay.
and the guy comes out.
No, he drove by in a car. He was hanging out the passenger window.
Yeah, we're all waiting in line, and he's all, "Hey, the ship sinks at the end." And I was like, "Dude, oh yeah, huh?"
I mean, that was like the funniest thing. Because
I got so heated on that because he's just spoiled the ending, but then I'm like, stupid, everyone knows that, you know?
Yeah. This isn't alternate universe Titanic where it made it to New York. It was just funny. Yeah, popcorn movie. That's what I call those. That's what I think of them. You just sit down, check out, watch it, and you're done. And then, like you said, you know, a week later, because we don't have our facts straight in what happened in the MCU movies, and we watched them all, but they don't really stick
Numerous
with you.
times, especially Guardians of the Galaxy, my absolute favorite.
Right. And that was another one I didn't want to see. I was like, I know nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't really have any particular interest in the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then we see them, and we're like, wow, that was really funny.
And Lady Omega here, we got to talking a while ago about, she thought it would be a neat idea to do a show about sequels that are better than the originals. And I don't know if it's common, I don't care, but the for me, Guardians 2 was superior to the first one, and the first one was already a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But that second one was so much better. And so anyways, and you know, we could also compare Star Trek 1 and 2, which was better, and you could compare Star Trek The Next Generation 1 and 2, which was better. First Contact or Generations. Wrath of Khan versus the motion picture.
Terminator 2.
Terminator 2 was better. So anyways, that's on a back burner somewhere.
We don't know if it's going to be like a movie review of us talking about, you know, we like bring our own lists of which sequels were better than the original, or if it's going to be one of the clip shows.
Or maybe just one show.
That Mr. Omega does, where he goes, and the first one is this, but the second one was this. Or the other one we were thinking about was movies that only had one movie, and we thought should have had a sequel.
Yeah, that'd be another fun one.
But I would have to like rack my brain and find like 5, and you could find 5 that we thought should have had a sequel.
I think Jupiter Rising should be on that list. They built a pretty good history of the universe, and I would love to see a sequel come out of that.
Constantine
You could go.
is my number one.
Yeah.
I really wish they would have gotten further in that world.
Mortal Engines. I'd like to see number 2. Peter Jackson.
Yeah. There's a few movies that you're just like, why was there never a sequel? And sometimes it's because they tanked at the box office and they don't want to risk
Which
having
is
a sequel.
dumb.
Or, like, a lot of people said that Keanu Reeves doesn't do sequels, and they had to beg him to do the Matrix trilogy. And then he did Constantine, and he said, I don't want to do another Constantine. I'm done with being Constantine. And then he did 3 parts of John Wick. So, you don't know.
Yeah, and his sequel to Bill and Ted was vastly superior. Just kidding.
Just, yeah, that's actually being filmed, by the way.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was horrible.
Oh, they're making a third part of Bill and Ted.
Yeah, I heard that, but I've heard that for a while.
I have no interest in any of those.
I heard Keanu Reeves say he's doing Bill and Ted Part 3 for the fans.
For the fans.
And from what I hear about Keanu Reeves, he is a stand-up, real human being, not a celebrity.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very down to earth. He's very mild-mannered and meek, and doesn't seek out the paparazzi and doesn't make headlines just to make headlines to get people to notice him.
No, he's a normal guy.
And I keep telling Mr. Omega to watch the John Wick movies because they are amazing. Like the cinematography and the choreography of the fight scenes alone will blow your mind. Like I think in the first one there is a 5 or 10 minute scene where there is 0 dialogue, where he's kicking some butt, and there's no cuts in this scene. It's all one long camera shot, which is incredibly impossible to do. There's, you as when you're filming a movie, you cut from one camera and then you have another angle and then you have another angle, and the editors put them all together. But doing a continuous shot, I love movies that do continuous shots because they are so technically difficult to make sure that all of the extras are where they need to be. The main person is remembering all of their dialogue. You're not tripping over cables. You've got the cameraman right there. And I love continuous shots. They're so hard to do. But
yeah,
now,
that's true.
Nowadays, though, cameras have gotten so technical that you can just basically put a rig on a guy with a steady gimbal and he can chase after the actor. It's a lot easier to do now that you don't have this big giant, camera on wheels that used to be have to be on a track to zoom in and zoom out and be there with the actor. You can chase down the actor with a cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
And John Wick was like that. Like, the fight scenes are almost like a dance. And I keep telling him, like, you want to watch John Wick. You like action. You like people getting murdered in movies. And you would really
I don't
like
it.
Yeah. But, I mean, you don't go for the fluffy rom-coms. You go for the action movies. And I watch them because I like Keanu Reeves.
I don't know what it is, but if it's not a sci-fi, superhero, or a comedy, I'm just not interested. I don't... Even that Oculus, I only watched we did a review on that, but I only watched the Oculus movie because, for one, it had that girl from Doctor Who, Amy Pond, and for two, I thought it was a time travel movie because from the previews I saw them as kids and them watching themselves as kids and them as kids watching them, and I was like, oh cool, time travel. I was wrong. It has no time travel, but it was a really good movie.
And see, my 3 genres are horror, but not necessarily slasher, sci-fi, and action. And I don't much care
I do like slasher movies.
I don't really like comedy movies because a lot of what they call comedy movies nowadays are extremely vulgar.
Yeah, I don't like vulgar comedy.
Like, it's all... I won't say it because we're a G-rated episode, but
even though it's made for adults.
It's vulgar. It's, all...
It's not funny.
Potty jokes and
it's junior high
jokes,
humor.
and
that was funny in junior high.
It's not funny to me to watch a movie that's based on vulgarity and body parts, and I haven't seen a comedy in years that I actually laughed at. Maybe 3 genuine laughs at a comedy, and it's like, this is a comedy? And I don't do the rom-coms. I'm not really interested in, she chases down the boy's not interested, then the boy's interested, and she runs away, and rom-coms to me are, you know, sort of pointless. So I'm not into that side. So it's funny to find a movie that we both watch, that we want to watch together. Because we both are on either sides of the aisles. When
Like
it comes
Jurassic
to,
Park. I got no interest in Jurassic Park.
I rented it because we have kids, and I thought they'd be wanting to watch a movie with dinosaurs,
And they weren't.
they both were like, don't want to watch it. I'm like, fine. I'll watch it because Chris Pratt's in it.
Yeah. And for me, it was like watching Star-Lord before he went into space or something. Or he came back to Earth to go hang out with dinosaurs for a minute and then went back.
Did we do a review on that last Jurassic World?
It was so good, I can't remember. I don't think we did.
I think I know we're getting away from the Marvel thing, but the Jurassic Park, I think they beat that horse to death.
Yeah, let's do that right now. The latest Jurassic Park kind of sucked.
And it was the same as the other Jurassic Parks, which is, oh, dinosaurs are going to eat us, run away. There's nothing new. There was nothing new. There was nothing surprising.
Well, the girl was a clone.
It's the same. It's the same movie. It's been the same movie. I mean, the first Jurassic World movies were
Jurassic
unique.
Park was good.
Unique. They were, you know, I think every kid or adult has always thought, what if dinosaurs were real?
And they had a plausible way to bring them back.
They had a plausible way of bringing them back. They put them on an island. You got to see dinosaurs in their, what they would be like. And it was unique and it was different and it was like, wow. I think that was a John Crichton movie. Or a book. It was a book.
Spielberg, wasn't it?
It was a book. And then it got made into a movie. And Jurassic World was it Jurassic Park or Jurassic World? The original.
Jurassic World was the second one.
Okay, so the first Jurassic movie.
Because Jurassic World was the same thing as the first one, but bigger.
Right, and
Their sequel is what started the ball rolling on just
6
remake the last movie.
I think that's 6 movies. I think there was the original 3, and then there was the Chris Pratt 3.
And this latest one, and I have no idea what it's called, but I had seen the one before it with Chris Pratt and completely forgot like all of it. And then when we were watching the second one, I kept asking Lady Omega here, didn't we see this? Didn't they get in a ball?
Yeah.
And she goes, no, it's from the first one. I'm like, they got in a ball twice and rolled down the hill? I mean,
it was the same movie.
It was stupid.
It was the same movie. There was nothing new.
Did he build a house in the first one?
I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, it was just...
It was the same movie. It was like, oh, scary dinosaurs, run away. And it was nothing new and nothing surprising.
Alright, stupid guys who make Jurassic Park. So for the next one, put it in space. You haven't done it yet. Make Space Park.
Dinosaurs in space.
Yeah, there you go. And make them weightless, and then give them rocket packs, so they're even more deadlier, but people like to see them fly around in space. And it'll be new, it'll suck, like the other ones, but it'll be something we haven't seen before.
Or maybe stop making T-Rexes so people stop getting eaten. Maybe you shouldn't have cloned carnivorous dinosaurs to begin with, so you didn't have to run from them.
Yeah. And and in this one too, they have them on an auction block and they're selling them to people as a weapon. And yeah, you know, it's pretty deadly, but you know, a dinosaur is really big.
Yeah.
And we've got rocket launchers and stuff. So
like, you wouldn't see this thing coming. He was like 12 feet tall and like 16 feet long. And how are you going to control this thing? If you weaponize him, you're just going to let him out and go, okay, go fight this people across the border and don't come back and eat the townsfolk.
Yeah, remember, he was trained by a laser dot. You put the laser dot on the target, and then the dinosaur won't stop until it kills the target.
Yeah, like bullets wouldn't bring down a dinosaur or a rocket launcher. It was dumb. It was, we should probably cut this out.
You know what? Here you go. Jurassic Park makers. Make them robotic. Okay, you haven't done that. They don't need to be biological anymore. So they figured out that biological dinosaurs are bad. So they're all robotic now, but then something goes wrong, and the robot dinosaurs start attacking people.
And they transform.
And they're bulletproof, because they're robots and they're metal. And they could transform.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Make them Dinobots. Merge Transformers with Jurassic Park, right there. Because they screwed up the Dinobots in the Transformer movies, so make them right, and put Grimlock in it.
And it comes back to the MCU, because Star-Lord could been a dinosaur hunter.
It also comes back to the MCU because Marvel made all the Transformer comic books. So, bam! And by the way, nowhere is Unicron's head. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they missed out on that. When they went to that dead planet where they were mining out resources.
That is
Guardians of the
Unicron's
Galaxy,
head.
That is
right
Unicron's
there.
head.
So right
Even
there,
I knew that.
establish the Transformers in the Marvel Universe. Come on, Marvel.
Yeah, it could have been Unicron's head floating around in space, and everybody's wanting some tech, so they landed in his brain, and were taking the tech out. That could have been totally in Guardians 2. That was Guardians 2, wasn't it? When they landed on
I think that was the first one.
When they landed on that weird planet to talk to the
They might have went to nowhere twice.
keeper.
But the first Guardians, I'm pretty sure they showed the
Outside.
head.
Yeah.
But I think the second one, if they went there, it was real brief. I don't think they showed the outside.
Yeah, so you could totally tie in Dinosaur Hunter Chris Pratt to Star-Lord.
Hey, I would watch that and maybe buy it. All right?
Guardians 3.
Whoever makes Jurassic Park?
Star-Lord goes back and gets his dinosaur back
Yes.
and takes him to space.
There you go. Jurassic Park, Star-Lord. No. Guardians of Jurassic Park. Right there. Featuring the Transformers.
Transforming robots.
Guardians-
Dinosaur robots.
Guardians of the Transforming Jurassic Park. Bam. And I'll take 1%. Give me 2%,
Yeah, it's
so
Chris
I
Pratt
can
movie.
go to McDonald's from the earnings.
Yeah. It's weird too that he made these movies. I mean,
It is really weird.
he was on Parks and Rec as the funny, sort of chubby,
Yeah,
stupid guy.
where we noticed him.
And
We
then-
noticed him there.
It's like bam, he kind of disappears for 3 or 4 years, gets a trainer, loses like 150 pounds, and shows up. I don't know if Guardians got filmed first or if Jurassic Park got filmed first.
I don't know that either.
And then he shows up in the MCU as this new character, Star-Lord, and you're like, wow, he's not that dumb guy from Parks and Rec. And then he does Jurassic Park, and you're like, why did he do these sort of both huge franchises together? Because usually actors don't do that. It's not like,
Yeah, usually you stay in a genre.
yeah, so he's doing Jurassic Park, which was a pretty big, they held their own for
Well,
a while
I
for box
bet
office.
you anything, Chris Pratt is a huge fan of Jurassic Park growing up in the 90s.
Probably.
And he probably
It's like,
maybe
sweet,
called them.
dinosaur trainer.
So, hey, I want to be in the next Jurassic Park. And they're like, that thing's dead, man. And he's like, I don't care. I'll do it for free.
Write me some movies. I want to be
I want to be in
dinosaur
Jurassic Park. And then they're like, cool, we'll just rewrite the script for the last 3 ones and reproduce the movie twice. Right on, let's do it.
Because I think this was the 3rd one with Chris Pratt. I know for sure it was the 2nd one.
I have no idea.
Because I think there was 3 original ones with Jeff Goldblum in them.
Yeah, Goldblum was not in it enough. He was like 2 minutes.
Yeah. If that.
Come on, Goldblum.
Yes.
He was the best part. He was the best thing in Jurassic Park, including the dinosaurs.
Yeah, and didn't get eaten.
Well,
Mhm.
him and Chris Pratt.
Newman got eaten. In the first one.
Yeah, the lawyer getting eaten was cool. Well, no, I mean, you know, the first movie was good. It was a good movie.
The original, because it had original, and that's
where you stop.
That's what's lacking in movies nowadays anyway, which is probably why we liked Mortal Engines so much is because it was something we had never seen. It was a concept out of the box, and I think a lot of what's going on in Hollywood right now with movies is
wash,
rinse, and repeat.
Yep.
Wash, rinse, and repeat. They're rebooting things that worked 20 years ago, and they're not finding the audience that they want because, you know, we saw them 20 years ago and they were good and original, and now it's like they're making another one of that.
Yeah, like the Xmen.
And we've seen it. We've seen it, and there's not enough original ideas coming out of Hollywood, and if they are original ideas, they're not getting the money or the attention that they deserve, and they go to indie movie houses and they get dropped off the face of the map and you don't hear about them. There's not enough originality in Hollywood.
Yeah, because, you know, with the with the X-Men, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's been a comic book for like 50 years, right?
Yeah, since late 60s.
Okay, we've got 50 years of stories.
Yep.
With the X-Men alone.
Story arcs.
And
yeah.
we have 2 Phoenix movies.
Yeah.
And both Phoenix movies go straight into Dark Phoenix.
Yep.
There's a whole chapter of her existence where she was good. And she only went bad when she accidentally killed a whole planet full of people by eating their son.
And that wasn't really Jean. That was
and
the
that
entity.
that was the entity. And that's the other thing we forgot to mention because batteries ran out on the Dark Phoenix review. There was no interaction between the Phoenix entity and Jean because it was its own thing.
It was a symbiosis between the two.
Yeah.
Which they didn't even hint on.
So that part of it, they did fail on for sure.
Yeah.
Because the Phoenix, I think the Phoenix was a Eternal.
Yes.
Or a Celestial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Phoenix is a Celestial.
But people could see the MCU universe as what we just said, you know, wash, rinse, and repeat. Because there is source material that goes back 70 years from the comic books.
And there's so much material to touch on that's just ignored.
Yeah, for sure. What else? What else are we missing out of the MCU? So, what is coming up for the MCU?
Right now, we've got Low-Key, a TV show on Disney Plus. We also have WandaVision, another TV show on Disney Plus, which looks to be like a comedy. And my favorite genre is superhero comedy or sci-fi comedy mix. So that's right up my alley. I'm not quite sure what the Loki show's about, but it does look good. They have a movie coming out, I think.
I know Doctor Strange's production has hit a few speed bumps. They either lost their director, and the whole production has been put on hold because of the lockdown. So who knows if Doctor Strange 2 will come out. And I don't think it's Doctor Strange 2. I think it actually has a name.
We've got Guardians of the Galaxy 3
also
coming, and I think it's 2022.
But that's also been shut down. I think they were in the middle of filming it.
Hey, and by the way, Richard Gunn or whoever decided this, thank you for putting numbers in the sequels.
He specifically said he hates movies that don't have numbers.
Good.
He
Because
specifically
I do too.
said it. And he tried, because Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is Volume 1, then the next one is Volume 2 and Volume 3. And it's easy to keep up with that.
Yeah, you know, if you just say Guardians 2, you know I'm talking about Kurt Russell.
Right.
But if you say the Avengers movie, which one?
Or Captain America.
I don't know. Yeah,
There's
or Captain America.
Captain America, Winter Soldier, there's Captain America, Dark Soldier or something.
And how hard is it to say Captain America to the Winter Soldier?
Yep.
I mean,
Well, Iron Man stuck to numbers, didn't it?
yeah, Iron Man did that too. Thank you, Iron Man.
Yeah. I think they did.
And then Spider-Man did Homecoming and
Far From Home.
and Far From Home. Why are you including home in the titles?
I don't know.
Because
like
I
when it's
couldn't
numbered.
tell you right now which one's which. I don't know.
We just watched Homecoming. Or Far From Home. We just
Yeah,
watched
see?
that one. We
That's
just
it.
did a
I don't know.
review of it.
I don't know.
And S.H.I.E.L.D. was in that one. S.H.I.E.L.D. was intricate into that one.
That was really good with S.H.I.E.L.D. in there.
So who else are we missing?
The Time Travelers,
Yeah.
Cable,
Cable.
Bishop.
No, they were both X-Men.
Yeah.
But
But I love how they were from different times.
but one of those came over to Deadpool. And I can't remember if it was
Cable.
Cable. Came over in the second one.
Yeah. Yeah. And he retconned the whole movie at the end.
And I believe that's the same actor who played Thanos.
Oh, is it?
I think it is. Which is kind of funny that he's in both universes.
Nice. I didn't know.
Josh Brolin, I think. I could be wrong about that.
I think it was Michael Keaton.
And I love how Ryan Reynolds doesn't talk about Green Lantern. And I liked Green Lantern
I like Green Lantern too.
also.
You know, I love not sticking to a genre. And Green Lantern was superhero and sci-fi. And I think they nailed it. I love the movie. I don't know why people hated it.
Yeah. And that's one right there that should have gotten a sequel but didn't because people hated it.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds said, fine. I won't do that again.
Now, here's a mashup. Green Lantern, Deadpool movie. And he can play both parts. It would be fantastic.
And Green Lantern is DC, yes?
Yeah.
And then he goes on to play in the Sony universe as Deadpool, but Deadpool is connected to
The X-Men.
the X-Men, who is connected to the MCU Marvel universe.
Yeah. So, you know, if DC's hurting for money, and I heard they are, and probably Sony's not, but they're probably looking for another movie to make, you got Ryan Reynolds. Use him twice. Everyone will go watch that.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to buy some rights or whatever to merge two universes together. But who cares?
Yeah, and that was a movie that I didn't think was going to be funny, which was Deadpool, and that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And that there was some scenes. Deadpool is definitely not for kids,
Yeah.
and it does have vulgar humor, but it was really funny. And Deadpool has never been a PG rated superhero. I don't even think you'd call him a superhero. He was very anti-hero because he didn't really want to be Deadpool.
Or a hero.
And I do love the tongue-in-cheek he gets in the movie where he goes to Xavier's Institute to look for the X-Men to help him out, and all he can find is, what was... Colossus, and who knows what that girl was. I think she was, Jubilee, maybe?
No, she was a different girl. Oh, Jubilee was there.
Yeah, and he goes there looking for
The X-Men
to help him, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not home. We're not gonna let you have any of the X-Men in your Deadpool movie."
Come back later. And we'll be right back after this. And we're back with the Omega Movie Review Special X-Men Special Edition.
Because we're not really doing movies. We're just talking about X-Men.
And Jurassic Park. And Michael Keaton for some reason.
Oh, and Deadpool. And Venom.
Yep. And Beast. And Cyclops.
Yeah, and then the guy who played Cyclops went on to be in the DC universe as the boyfriend of Lois Lane.
That was, yeah.
That was one of the first reboots of Superman.
Yeah, that was so dumb.
You're like, Cyclops, where's your glasses? Oh yeah, that's the wrong world.
What Cyclops did you like better? The first class one or the original one?
Original, because the first class one always seemed like he was gonna cry.
Versus always crying? No. No, I like the original one better too.
Honestly speaking, I don't really recall the first two X-Men First Class.
I don't really either.
I know the guy who was Xavier, and I know they did the whole Cuban Missile Crisis, and that's how Xavier lost the use of his legs. And then there was Apocalypse, which was sort of a crossover with X-Men First Class and X-Men Originals.
Yeah.
And that one was sort of good, but they didn't... I don't know, they didn't really go into the history of Apocalypse, because Apocalypse seems like he's straight out of the MCU.
Yeah.
He's like a massively huge bad guy up there with Ultron and
Thanos.
I mean, and he wasn't. He wasn't as big as he should have been in that one. And then you have the Jean Grey movie, which wasn't a third-parter, which I thought should have been a third-parter. And I could be wrong. There could be more X-Men First Class that I don't recall.
I think I like the uniforms better in the new one, because they seem to be based a little bit more on the original comic book. But I thought it would have been better if they were a little more unique to the character.
Well, in the original X-Men, there's a tongue-in-cheek with that, with Hugh Jackman in the Blackbird, and he's trying to move in that leather suit, and Scott says to him, "What would you rather us run around in yellow spandex?" And that's a joke. That's a joke on the comic books, where they were running around in yellow and blue spandex.
Yeah.
Like in First Class.
Which is what we wanted.
Wolverine's like, "How do you move in these things?" And he's like, "What do you want, yellow spandex?" And that was funny. That was funny, because it's like, yeah, that's what they used to run around in the original comics.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the whole black leather. They sort of all looked the same in the original.
But they were different. I did like that. They each had an X on the uniform somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they were... it was a uniform, but they were all different.
Yeah, and then the X-Men First Class Jean, they looked like they were made in some mom's basement. They looked like cosplay in the Jean movie.
Yeah, they did.
They looked like, "Hey mom, I want to go to Comic-Con. Can you make me an X-Men uniform?" And she's like, "Well, I got some gray and black fabric and some yellow. Can I make you a costume?"
And the mom says, "What's an X-Men?"
Yeah. They looked, the Jean Grey, when they were dressed
They
up,
did look really hokey.
They
really
looked,
dated.
Yeah.
Really homemade, kind of. Maybe Cyclops made him with his visor off.
You're saying you
'Cause he
like
couldn't
those
stop
better
crying.
than the original X-Men costumes. I'm just like, really?
Well, I liked that they were uniform.
Yeah, but they were totally horrible.
But they were horrible,
They
yeah.
they looked like some kids were going to Comic-Con and their mom made them a costume in like 2 days, and that's what they wore.
Even though they were horrible, they were canon.
I don't think so.
Well,
I think they were blue with yellow X's, and these ones were gray with giant yellow X's, and they were not... No disrespect to the costume maker if that's what you were going for, but they didn't look... I mean, they got this $1 billion X-Wing jet, And then their costumes look like they got made by somebody's grandma to go to Comic-Con. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's what the X-Men are fighting in nowadays? Is gray and yellow jumpsuit handyman costume? Yeah.
I like that the Avengers kind of came up with a uniform at the end there. In Endgame. The time travel uniform thing.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Well, they've never had matching uniforms. Captain America's always been the red, white, and blue thing with the face. That was the other thing. Why does he have a helmet that's not really a helmet that covers his face? Because isn't he pretty recognized by all of America?
That's so he doesn't get shot in the head.
Yeah, but it wasn't a helmet.
Oh. I thought it was a helmet.
It would have been neat to have his shield be made out of adamantium and not vibranium. That would have been an interesting little tie-in with Wolverine having adamantium and then his shield was adamantium.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They made it its own thing. But maybe vibranium was from space. That's why
I think vibranium's canon.
Yeah.
I think it's... Didn't we do a show on that? No, we were going to do a show on that. We discontinued the Marvel show a while ago. But we were going to do that, the comparison between adamantium and vibranium. Because we looked up the data on it. And it is two different things. And one was better than the other. And I can't remember which.
Well,
one of the metals could defeat the other.
One of them's actually real. Isn't it? Like, you can find now.
I don't know.
Or maybe Stanley was like, hey, this sounds cool. I'll make it adamantium. I think adamantium's the one that's real. I think vibranium is from space and S.H.I.E.L.D. found it and made it into a shield for Captain America.
That could be. Maybe it was a meteor or something.
Yeah. Because it's kind
From
of...
Asteroid M.
It's kind of weird that adamantium is virtually indestructible and then Captain America has a shield that has a metal that's virtually indestructible, but they're not the same metal.
Yeah, and they do have different properties though, because vibranium negates vibrations, like
Which is
from
a good
bullets.
shield.
But adamantium is like a lightsaber; it can cut through any metal or
Right.
something.
Which is why they put him.
Yeah, they have different properties.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have been cool to have a tie-in with, oh, we did this Weapon X program on this mutant and coated him in adamantium, and now you have a shield made out of adamantium.
Yeah.
Because we found out it works on this guy, so you can have a shield out of it.
Or you make an amalgamate from adamantium and steel or something, and that's how you get vibranium.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
Because did he have the shield back in World War II? Because he was Captain America in World War II before he got...
Yeah, Tony's dad made it.
Right. So Tony's dad could be hooked up to Weapon X project.
Yeah.
Could be a sub-project
yeah.
of the Tony Stark Industries.
Yeah, Tony's dad was in a lot of Black Ops.
And see, that would be a good movie. That would be a good movie.
Yeah.
Go back to the 40s and the 50s, not do Captain America necessarily, and get into Tony Stark's dad, who I don't remember his name.
Thomas
Stark? No.
That's Batman's dad.
And you
Thomas Wayne.
You could get into what Tony's dad was doing in the 40s and the 50s and how he established all this covert black ops, mutant development, space travel thing that he passed on to Tony. That Tony wasn't really interested in at all.
And then what you do is you make a 3-parter movie set where you start it in the 40s with Thomas Wayne versus Iron Man's dad in industry and Black Ops projects, and then you make that the whole first movie, and then the second movie you introduce Batman and Iron Man at the same time, and then the third movie they're working together for some reason.
Yeah, because Thomas Wayne Industries and Tony Stark Industries are virtually identical.
Yeah.
They're both being managed by single siblings. They don't have any siblings.
They inherited their fortunes.
They inherited their fortunes. Their dads were huge billionaire what is that word? Not anthropologist. Anyway, both run by their dads. Both inherited the corporations after their parents died. Both are in R&D and futuristic tech. I mean, I guess Batman hasn't really gone to space.
I think Wayne Enterprises was more financial based, but I'm not sure.
And Tony's was
technological based, yeah.
So it is interesting the similarities between the two, and you could totally have
and neither one of them have superpowers.
Right.
They both money is their superpower.
Right.
They're both just regular guys with billions of dollars.
So it would be interesting to see who copied who with writing the comics, because one is DC.
Batman was first.
Wow.
Batman was first by a long shot, because Batman's comic book used to be called Detective Comics, and that's where we get DC. And I believe Batman is older than Superman.
Batman was back in the 40s.
Yeah.
He was a daily in the newspapers.
He might be 30s. I'm not sure. He was a long time ago.
Yeah, and then they had the sort of hokey cheesy in the 60s live action with
They had one before that.
Yeah, they did. It was like black and white, and then they had the radio program that was Batman, that was for kids, that the kids would come home from school and listen to. Yeah, so Batman has been around a long time.
And for more information about Batman, check out the history of the Batmobile, also on Omega Ordain. And we'll be right back after this.
So, where are we now? Did we cover most everything?
We covered how Batman's in the MCU.
Could be.
And
how he has like a parallel origin to Tony Stark.
Yeah, very similar origin stories, which we always love to see versus movies.
Except I don't think Tony Stark's parents were killed horribly in front of him.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Which would screw you up. Yeah, and then Tony Stark didn't want anything to do with Stark Industries. He wanted to go off and be his own thing, but he was like super smart.
Yeah.
And his dad died. I think his dad died when he was older, though, like in college. I think they said that once in one of the Iron Mans.
And I think that was in Endgame when he went back in time. He ran into his dad.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was really cool. I thought they were setting that up for a prequel.
Weren't they going back to get one of the Soul Stones that Tony's dad ended up getting from the crash down from Captain America, and it was in one of his military bases all hidden away, and they went back and I guess that's a spoiler for Endgame. Went back in time to get that Soul Stone from his dad, and he ends up running into his dad, and he has to make up a name for himself because he's like, I haven't seen you around here. He's like, yeah, and Tony recognizes his dad totally, like he knows that's his dad.
Yeah.
And that would be a trip, because
to go back in time and see your dad and you're older than him, and you give him advice that he later gives you.
Yeah, I've always thought that would be a trip, because you don't. I mean, on one level, you know that your grandparents and your parents were once your age, but you know them at 40 or 50 or 70, and you can't see it. You can't see your grandma as being a 20-year-old just starting out her life and having kids. You don't see that. But for Tony to go back in time and to see his dad, and I think Tony was there. Wasn't he like 5 or 6 or something? Wasn't the mom bringing him back, bringing him by to give him his lunch or something? And so he sees little Tony, and that would mess with your head big time. You'd be like, what? That's little me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a spoiler for Endgame if you haven't seen it.
And the ship sinks at the end. Take that, guy in a car. From 1997. Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Yeah, I'm surprised that DiCaprio hasn't been in the Marvel universe more.
Yeah, that's weird.
He's busy doing Inception and other weird things.
I could see him fitting in somewhere.
Where does Daredevil fit in?
He's DC.
Ah.
No, he isn't. No, you're right. Yeah, no, he's Marvel. Him and Elektra.
And Punisher. Where's he? Who is he? Because Punisher is tied to Daredevil.
Punisher is Marvel. And I think Punisher was hooked up with Ghost Rider in that Dark Avengers group up.
Yeah, see, so they didn't have Daredevil or Punisher in the battle in New York.
So they might have the rights to that too.
I never got into... I know that Punisher and Daredevil have a series on Netflix, and I really like John Bernthal, who plays Punisher, and I've heard he does an excellent job as Punisher, but I just not watched either one. I really have no interest in Daredevil, and I think Punisher is introduced in the 3rd season of Daredevil that's on Netflix, and then Punisher got its own spin-off. And so I kind of need to watch the Daredevil to get the backstory on Punisher, and then branch off into its own thing. But I have not watched either of those two.
Yeah, I like the Punisher.
And he's not a mutant, but he's like sort of.
He's a vigilante.
He's
like
a vigilante.
Batman.
Yeah.
But he does kill.
He does kill. Yeah, horribly. And Daredevil doesn't. I didn't like the Daredevil movies.
Well, that's because it was Ben Affleck.
Yeah, so there's 2 more that could have been in the MCU. But then you get huge. I mean, the cast for Avengers...
I know.
Endgame and stuff, you've got 20 main characters who are all vying for screen time, and you're all paying them for being there.
And I mean, that would be really hard to write for, too. I mean, if you're just doing Spider-Man, you're just doing Spider-Man. And
Right.
the villains and who he met and all that stuff. But, I mean, when you start mixing and tying all these stories together, it's which universe are you pulling from? And, you know, some people are going to hate it because you didn't use this Spider-Man, you used the other one. And
Or you didn't use enough of this character, and you
Yeah.
used too much of that character.
Or you screwed up Rogue.
It's a 7.
Oh, hey, I got some news. Maybe it's not news to you. Maybe it's news to them. Disney possibly might be in the works of continuing the 90s X-Men cartoon.
I did know that.
And there's nothing official, but they did start posting a bunch of pictures of concept art on what they could look like.
Are they going to have homemade costumes?
No, they're going to actually look good. But I mean, the beauty part is it's a continuation. So the canon that's already been established from the 90s, which was great, is going to be continued. Like,
Or are they going to screw it up totally?
no. I mean, they're not doing a reboot, like screwing up everything else. They're continuing it, and it's beautiful because they ended the 90s show not too long after the Dark Phoenix saga, and kind of left everybody hanging a little bit for 30 years. So, and I believe on Disney Plus, or right now, you can watch all of the original 90s X-Men
Not a sponsor.
in their credits. Hey, but Disney Plus, yeah, you could be our sponsor. And you could hook us up with a free membership, because we don't have one.
I'd only get it for the Mandalorian.
I'd get Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, WandaVision, Loki, the other Marvel show.
And all the cartoons from the 90s you used to watch.
Yeah, but that other 90s show, What If, is a Marvel comic from way back. And they used to do the coolest What If things. from history, from comic books, from sci-fi, from whatever. I mean, they would do, I don't know if they did it, but they would do things like, what if Kirk and the Enterprise came through and helped the rebels in Star Wars? I mean, they would just do whatever. What if? And that's a show that's coming to Disney Plus that I'd be real interested in seeing.
Well, DC has kind of done that with Superman. We have a movie we're waiting on for Netflix where Superman lands in Soviet Russia.
Red Sun.
And hopefully we'll get that review out as soon as Netflix is not sitting on them.
Yeah.
It's a short wait right now. Didn't send it. But yeah, the whole theory of different timelines. Well, that's how the Earth, different parallel Earths started.
Yeah. And that Superman Red Sun would be a different Earth. But I did get this comic book set way back when it came out on this Red Dawn. Is it Red Dawn or Red Sun? Red Sun. And man, it was a page turner. I love it. All about the whole premise of the whole thing. The what if is, what if Superman was delayed 6 hours? That's the only difference between the two universes. Superman's baby Superman hit something, or his parents launched him 6 hours later or 6 hours sooner, and he ends up landing in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And it changes the entire world.
And that's kind of, sometimes you think about that. Even in your own life, what if I turn left versus right? Which that was a Doctor Who episode. Of, what would my life be if I had chosen this direction and not that direction? And that's that comic book, is the Red Sun is, he lands in the middle of Kansas versus, the middle of a wheat field in Soviet Russia.
Yeah, both times he's a farmer.
Yeah. Or a son of a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the DC world. And that's the other thing too, is DC hasn't really done either, is intermixing the storylines that it has. I mean, I guess in that last, and I don't remember the title of it, where Superman and I guess it was Superman versus Batman. Wasn't that the one that they were fighting together, and then they had the sea guy? Aquaman, and they had the
Wonder Woman and the Flash?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Super Friends. No.
That was Batman's versus Superman, wasn't it?
Justice League.
That was the Justice League, but they're just now hitting on mixing their comic books together, and I mean, MCU has been far ahead of that for years.
Yeah, so the deal with that is that DC, because nobody was watching their movies because some of them kind of suck, they decide to push they were trying to do what Marvel did.
Avengers.
And, Marvel built these things up 2-3 movies at a time before launching everybody together in one giant movie.
Right.
I mean, getting each character established individually. And I don't know if The Flash even had a movie.
Flash had a show on
I don't think that
CW,
I don't think that counts. But so I think they even skipped the Flash movie and put him straight into the Justice League, just trying to battle, because I think that came out the same time as Avengers Affinity War. And the Affinity War, I think, became the #1 movie ever, and then only to be surpassed by its sequel, the Endgame.
Well, I mean, if you look at DC versus Marvel, I mean, you got Superman and Batman, and then you've got who? I mean, if you really think about DC comic books and who they could make into a movie, and then you've got Marvel, where you've got the Xmen, you've got Iron Man, you've got Hulk, Captain America, you've got so many more. And Marvel started off back in 2000 with Iron Man, and that was a tentative sort of, we don't really know if the superhero thing's going to work out, we're just going to make a movie. And then, 20 years hindsight blows up into Endgame. And DC has been plugging along doing reboot after reboot after reboot of Batman.
Well, to be fair, though, it was Batman in 1989 that refired this superhero franchise in the first place.
Yeah,
because before that, you had the Superman movies from 78 and 82 and 86 or something that were okay, but nowhere near Batman. And it was Batman that got it to where it is today, really.
But every Batman is always a different leading man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Val Kilmer did 1.
Yep.
Michael Keaton did 2. Ben Affleck
Clooney did 1.
Clooney did 1. Affleck did 2. Then they've got...
Affleck did too many.
John Chevale? I think he did the 2 or 3 new ones.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was that guy that fights everybody.
No, Christian Bale. He
Bale.
did Batman.
Yeah.
He did Batman twice. And then you've got...
And then flipped out.
Yeah, so you, like...
No, 3. He did 3.
Oh, he did 3. But you've got, you don't stick with your leading man. It's really...
That's stupid. And then you're constantly rebooting Batman. How many times do we need to see his parents die and him finding the Batcave?
Right.
Dude, we've seen that like 100 times.
Right. So, I think we were talking about the Justice League coming into the scene late from Marvel's Avengers. And I think that Justice League one was only a couple years ago. It wasn't... I mean, Marvel was established. Marvel was the canon to make a good superhero movie. And yes, Mr. Omega's right with saying that Batman started back in, 97 as live action.
89.
Wow, 89. But, I mean, if you
Michael Keaton.
If you look at those first Batmans, they're not very good.
Yes, they are.
I mean, you've got... Okay, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
Joker.
come on.
I mean, yeah. You got to give it to Jack Nicholson.
I'll give you the second one wasn't as good.
And that was Mr. Freeze and the Penguin?
No, that was the Penguin and Catwoman.
Right, and then they made Catwoman, with Halle Berry, which was awful.
That was its own movie, yeah.
And then they had Penguin and Mr. Freeze. And then they introduced Robin and Poison Ivy and Bane.
That was in the Clooney one.
And then...
It was Batman and Robin.
Who was Val... yeah, and then Batgirl was in one of those.
Batman Forever, I think.
See, I don't know the Batmans as well.
Batman Forever, I think, had Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze.
And Penguin.
No.
Was...
Penguin was in the second one.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the fourth one is the one with
Bane.
Clooney.
Bane was with Poison Ivy. Yes.
Oh, yeah, but he was like a bodyguard.
And then Bane came.
And Jim Carrey was the Riddler.
And Bane was played by Tom Hardy, who played Venom.
Well, there you go. And
voice.
that's the Marvel connection.
The voice. He's got that voice that I could listen to all day.
But Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That was so stupid. He had the worst jokes. Yes.
Chill out.
He was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did a good job as Mr. Freeze, but Mr. Freeze was just...
He had the coolest suit ever in sci-fi.
Yeah, in which movie?
Correct. And hey, correct me. Hey, look at all suits ever in every sci-fi. Try to beat Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and which of the movies had like the Zoink and the Pows in there?
That was the same movie.
That was so bad. That was just like...
Holy rusted metal, Batman.
You're just watching that, and if you don't actually watch it, you're like, was that a kapow and a zoinks?
It was stupid.
Yeah, and that's the canon that DC wants to launch its superheroes off of.
Well, that's why they redid it.
Original...
It was really weird.
Christopher Reeves, Batman, or Superman back in the 70s, and new Zoinks, Batman!
The 60s Adam West Batman was goofy and silly and fine and campy, and it's for kids,
And it was supposed to be.
and yeah, for kids to watch with their parents. And it wasn't until 1989, Michael Keaton Batman, they took it seriously. They showed, you know, the parents getting killed, which
If you didn't know the canon.
which
you
was
would be-
good, yeah.
would be
And and we hadn't seen it a million times. And then the second one got a little goofy because the Penguin was a little goofy, but Catwoman was pretty dead serious as she was killed
Michelle Pfeiffer.
by
Yeah, because she was like this nerdy scientist, and then she finds out that he's a bad guy, and she gets whacked. And
Christopher Walken. Oh! Christopher Walken kills
Catwoman.
Catwoman,
Future.
Selena Kyle,
Yes.
and she comes back to life. So, I mean, it was a little goofy, but the part in that movie that was just jaw-dropping was Batman fighting the Penguin at the Target or Walmart or wherever they were. And she just walks by and puts a can of spray paint in a microwave and blows the building up. Just awesome. That was super funny. And then after that, though, they started going down the trail of making it campy and using stuff from the 60s and making it goofy and stupid. And I don't really understand what the deal was with that.
And then Christian Bale rebooted it, dark and twisty,
Super dark.
with Heath Ledger as Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And Two-Faced. I mean, the makeup on that was horrible. It was horrifying to have his face all burned out.
Even Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face in the third one.
That was awful. It looked like
The
he had
makeup was
purple
just stupid.
Play-Doh on his face.
Yeah. But Jim Carrey saved it. Jim Carrey saved Batman 3.
Yep.
And then Batman 4 was just a tragedy. And the funny part with I think it's Batman Forever is the fourth one, but the funny part is it says Batman on all the trailers and stuff, and it says starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then it says and starring George Clooney. And it's a Batman movie.
Yeah. I mean,
Arnold Schwarzenegger was the bad guy.
but I mean, if DC wanted to keep up with Marvel, Marvel was throwing out superhero after superhero after superhero, and DC's like, okay, we got Superman, we got Batman, and who else? Because nobody knows us.
That's the thing. I mean, they have Batman, and they've got more canon than anyone else.
But you can't make a universe off one character. Like, Marvel brought in everybody. They brought everybody together for Endgame. And DC's been plugging along. They just got out... who's the fish guy?
Aquaman.
Aquaman. They just did Aquaman. They just did Wonder Woman within, like, the last 5 years. And now and then they just threw Justice League together. They're like, here, there you go.
I know, and it's like they don't even know what they have. Because if you watch Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon from like the 2000s or 2010s or something, it's not even that old. There's like 1,500 superheroes in that show. It's unlimited. They have tons of superheroes to choose from.
Well, in the Justice League one, didn't they just kind of gloss over Cyborg and Flash? Weren't they just like blips in the movie of, oh yeah, you're half cyborg now?
Neither one of them
run
had
really
their own.
fast.
Neither one of them had their own.
So they just show
movie.
up in Justice League alongside Superman and Batman.
That's why it was rushed. You see, Marvel did it right. Captain America had 2 movies. Iron Man had 2 movies. Thor had 2 movies.
Hulk had
like 5 movies, but none of them really connected. And then they weaved them together with established movie canon.
Right.
Versus this Marvel one, or DC one, where it was just kind of slapped together to try to fight Infinity Stone, which was just stupid. They should have took a year off and shot for in between the two giant Marvel juggernauts.
But the thing about it, though, is do you really want a Flash movie and do you want a Cyborg movie? Because I don't.
I don't want a DC movie at all.
Yeah.
Except for Batman versus Iron Man. I would love that movie if it didn't star Affleck. Anyone else would be fine.
I don't think Christian Bale's coming back for Batman. I think he burned that bridge.
Get Michael Keaton.
Out of
No.
retirement?
Get Michael Keaton and do the Batman Beyond, and make movies 1 and 2 canon, and make this Batman 3, and fire it up. Old Batman, and he's training a kid to take his place, and you got something there.
Yeah, that's another series that Mr. Omega hasn't seen, which is Gotham, which I watch.
Yeah, I couldn't get into Gotham. It felt too much like Smallville. You keep waiting for Batman.
Yeah,
Or
you
you
do.
keep
It's
waiting
like
for
5
Superman,
seasons.
and I got bored with Smallville in about 3. I think I put in 3 seasons, and then I quit.
And yeah, and I'm watching Gotham on Netflix when it's binge-worthy. And it's been good. It's, they start off with Bruce Wayne being like 10. And you're like, it's Gotham. When are you going to get to the good stuff? And it took about 4 or 5 years to actually get to the good stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's a long time.
yeah, it is.
I'd rather watch Babylon 5 for the 25th time.
Yeah. I don't know how DC is going to keep up with Marvel. I don't know.
They've had their time.
I don't
Their
know.
time's over.
I don't know what DC could pull out of their hat that would surpass Infinity or Avengers.
Hey, DC, give me a call. I can help you out.
And who else was doing superhero movies? Is it just DC and Marvel, or is there a third
Not really.
comic book? Because we talked a little bit about Dark Horse, which is
Hellboy.
Hellboy and Ghost Rider. And you
No.
say it's not... Yeah, I know.
No.
But, Hellboy and Ghost Rider are very much not G-rated characters at all.
Yeah, they're in a different league.
Yeah. But you said that Ghost Rider belongs to
Marvel.
Marvel. And he didn't show up either.
Yeah. So I was wondering about that too. I don't know if Sony made the Ghost Rider movies, because we know Nicolas Cage puts out about 27 movies a year.
Yep.
And he would be down for number 3, or just to show up or walk by the camera or whatever. So I don't know why you didn't give him a call. Yeah, the second movie sucked, but the first movie was so good.
I don't remember the second one.
Nicolas Cage's best movie, in my opinion, is Ghost Rider. And Nicolas Cage's worst movie, in my opinion, is Ghost Rider 2.
I don't even remember there being a second Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider.
Yeah, we're going to do those. We're going to watch
good it
those and
was.
do them.
I don't remember it at all. I did like the elementals in the first Ghost Rider. That was cool.
Yeah, I like the elemental.
Elemental demons. That was pretty cool. That kind of... I wonder...
Legion.
Is Constantine Dark Horse Comics?
No, I think that's Marvel.
Because Constantine
Or DC.
was yes.
It's one of the major two. I know that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, Constantine isn't a superhero or a mutant, but he's in the supernatural realm, the same sort of realm as Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Because Doctor Strange technically isn't a mutant, but
No.
he went off to Asia.
Well, he's got magic powers. There's a magic realm.
Yeah, he went off to Asia and found that old celestial and solar powers, or inherited them. Yeah, so he's not technically a mutant, but he's got supernatural, otherworldly powers where he can transverse time and space, because that's what he was doing with the Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find an outcome that was favorable to them all, and didn't find one. Well, the other thing, too, is that Marvel's been at it so long, 20 years, that a lot of the people that have played in these Marvel movies are done.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big commitment. It's taken a lot of years. You can only stay in that physical peak for so long. And I think you can really see it on
Iron Man.
Iron Man. I mean, You know, no offense to,
Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, but I mean, you know, he can't be at the gym 24/7 to keep that physique. And also, you know, Tony Stark doesn't really need a physique, so
No, he just needs
I
to
was
get the
okay
suit.
with that. But there does come a time when you're just too old to be a superhero.
You have to pass the torch, and
Yeah.
that's when you get reboots. But if you don't do it good and don't stick to what was already there, because I don't mind an actor coming on to play a continuation of a role. I have a problem when they recast the main character
As Ben Affleck.
and then they're like, oh, well, we're going to pretend like you've never seen a Batman movie
Yeah.
and start it over again. And then they go to another actor who plays the next Batman and they're like, yeah, you know what, we're pretty sure you've seen Batman, but here's the origin story again. Well, that was the movie we didn't do a review on, was the Joker.
Hey, we're gonna do that.
Because that's dark and twisty. And that's way out in left field. That, I think he got an Academy Award for that.
I think so too. That was really well done.
It was really weird because it was not, I'm not particularly a Joker fan, but, you know, everybody's watching it and it's new, and so, yeah, let's rent it. And it was a very slow burn, because it starts off with him being normal, and then kind of, you could see the psychology, because Joaquin Phoenix played that so beautifully. That
he was so good.
you could see him being normal and perfectly fine. I guess we're doing a movie review. But you could see his slow slide into psychosis. And Joker has always been a left field, out of the blue sort of villain. Because, I mean, Penguin, he's deformed, he's weird. You know, Mr. Freeze got into a biological accident. You know,
Clayface.
The Riddler has, Clayface, he's mutated. You got I guess the crocodile's out of Spider-Man. But the
Riddler
Joker,
fried his brain.
The Joker is like a normal person that has lost touch with all of sanity. And to have a character like that, where Batman is like, okay, you're not made out of clay, you're not fat and ugly, you know, little penguin, you're just a mentally deranged individual that has had a psychological break from humanity, is a very interesting dynamic with the Batman and the Joker. Yeah, and that's why Joker was so interesting, because I don't know, it was weird. It was definitely dark and twisty.
Yeah. I mean, it knocked it out of the park, really.
Yeah.
Even though there wasn't Batman in it. Well, I guess he was in it for a little bit. And, you know, it just showed some early ties with him and Batman. And it was on a whole nother level than the Batman movies we've seen recently. And I was, at the end of that movie, I'm like, I want to see the next one and see what the Joker evolves into.
Right.
Because at the end of that movie, he ends up with his own army of really angry people at society and whatever, and social disrest. And
that's what the Joker
he gets this whole army behind him. And that's where they end it. And I'm like, I want to see what happens next, and I want to see Batman go up against that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Joker as a villain, is he's not...
He's like Batman. He has no superpowers.
He has no superpowers, and you can sort of see Joker's point of perspective in society about being the little guy, and...
He's an agent of chaos.
Yeah, he's like, you know, broke and mentally deficient, and, you know, he's sort of fighting for the little person, and you can see his sort of thinking that society is one-sided and wrong.
And it is.
And because there's that scene in the movie where he's talking to the therapist or something, and he's supposed to go because it was court mandated because something happened with him. And she's like, oh, this is going to be our last session because the budget got cut again. And you're like, are you serious? You're thinking to yourself, okay, this guy is like, he's crackers. He's psychotic.
He needs those antipsychotic
he needs his medication. He needs his therapy. If anyone does, this guy does. And they're like, yep, our budget got cut, so you get to fall off the wagon and get left behind and go mental. And, you know, that happens a lot in modern day society, where you need something that you can't get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to watch that slow burn in Joker of him being normal and then not so normal, and then you're like, okay, yeah, that very good origin story.
Really sad.
Yeah, you actually sympathize with the Joker.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Which I don't think you're supposed to sympathize with the Joker.
No, I think you are, because this could happen to anybody. This could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
With a slight mental disorder, or life wasn't fair. I mean, it's not really fair to anyone, but it really wasn't fair to him. All he wanted to do was
be a clown.
He just wanted to be a clown, and he wanted to entertain people, and he wanted to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, so DC's lagging behind, and just now putting out good content with 50 years of backstory. And Marvel has already been like, yep, been there, done that, knocked it out of the park, made our $8 billion. We're going to sit back and do the second tier characters of... I don't even know what's coming.
I don't know. This is Marvel Phase 4. After Endgame was the end of Phase 3. What's up for Phase 4? I don't know. And I don't know if it'll get better or worse.
It can't be on the same level as Phase 3. It can't.
I mean,
you said that they're getting some shows on Disney Plus, but I mean, who's left? Who's left to make a movie? Captain Marvel didn't do good. Don't know if we're going to get another one of her. Don't even know if I want another one. Loki, I mean, the brother of Thor, do you really want a movie of Loki? I mean, yeah.
I think it's a TV show.
If they got the guy that played Loki in all of the Thor movies, yay for continuity of the same character, if they got him to play it, it would be funny. If they wrote it in the same style as Guardians of the Galaxy, you could see Loki doing some really crazy stuff. But, I mean, I think there's another Black Panther planned. You've got Doctor Strange 2, which I want to, can't talk, which is one I want to see, because I like the first one. But I mean, who do they have left? Who are they making?
Well, they're doing, Thor is another one they're remaking.
Valkyrie.
But it's gonna be the girlfriend, Queen Amidala is gonna be the new Thor.
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. But if they give us Thor on board the Guardians of the Galaxy ship and let him be in Guardians 3, then I'm fine with that, because I absolutely love Chris Hemsworth. Thank you. And his portrayal of Thor.
Yep.
And I love Guardians of the Galaxy, and the few minutes we got to see them play together, I loved it. That was probably my favorite crossover in the Marvel universe.
But how are they going to do Natalie Portman as Girl Thor? I mean, how does that... First of all, let's get into the backstory of the fact that Natalie Portman hated being on Thor. She absolutely hated it. She fought with the directors. She fought with Chris. She basically... I don't want to say blackmailed into doing Thor 2. Or maybe it was Thor 1, I don't know. She basically, you're under contract, you have to be in this movie, or you're going to lose a lot of money trying to get out of your contract. And she basically said, fine, screw it, I'll show up, I'll do my role, and I'm not doing any press, I'm not promoting your film, I don't want to be here, I want you to know I don't want to be here. And she was like, she did it because she had to do it.
Yeah, and then they wrote her out.
And Yeah,
And
she
Thor
wasn't.
said, "My girlfriend broke up with me." You know.
And yeah, and that was it. It was like, oh, she disappeared. She's gone out of the movies, and we don't mention her at all. And then Marvel's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a female Thor, and it's gonna be Thor's girlfriend who hated being in Thor as the person. I was like, what? How do you even jump to that?
Okay, the only thing I got on that is Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, is only usable by those that are worthy. So she could technically gain all the powers he had by being worthy of the hammer.
But I don't want to see a girl Thor.
No, I don't either.
I don't care to see girl Thor, and I don't care to see
No,
Natalie
it's
Portman
stupid.
as girl Thor. I don't even really want to see the Valkyrie. Okay, if they did the Valkyrie back when there was actually Valkyrie, and it was the backstory
Yeah,
of...
a Valkyrie backstory I would love to see.
That
sure.
I would see,
Yeah,
but if
yeah,
they're
yeah.
going to base it as modern day Valkyrie,
where she's the only one, that would be dumb.
That would be dumb. Yeah, if it's backstory Valkyrie of them being on, I don't know, the home planet of Thor.
And fighting for Thor's sister.
That would be
rock.
Good. That would rock.
That would absolutely rock, and I would love that.
Yeah, but if they said it in modern day, oh, I'm the only Valkyrie, follow
That
me around.
would be stupid.
Yeah. See, we don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe superheroes have burned out and are done.
It could be. I mean, it could be the end of a time for a time.
And Guardians 3 is coming out. I mean, it's in the works. With the Russo brothers?
They got the Richard Gunn back. The director.
Who was doing Russo brothers? Who was writing?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think I love reading your guys' comments on these. I know this one is huge, mega long, but I love insight from other people, because the way that this concept came out in my head is I was thinking of the Xmen, because we just watched the Jean Grey movie, and why they weren't in the Marvel, and then going back and forth on why they weren't in the Marvel. And I was like, we should do, talk about why X-Men wasn't in it and what is up for the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
And then we integrated DC into it, because I feel like...
I still like Batman.
DC is trying to play catch up, but they threw out that Justice League with no warning. And it just seemed kind of like, we need to put this out now because Avengers is out. So here you go. Here's Justice League with no real insight.
And, not to take away from that, but the director was so unhappy with that being slapped together last minute. He's gone back and re-edited the entire movie, added in new scenes, taken away other scenes, and has made the movie he wanted to make in the first place.
Well, wasn't there a big controversy with the guy who was playing Superman? He grew a mustache and wouldn't shave it off, and he had to do retakes of that last fight scene with Batman, and they had to spend like $5 million to digitally edit his mustache out because he refused to shave it. And
I know, that was so stupid.
I'm just
yeah.
How long does it take to grow a mustache? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
So
maybe?
if you're watching Justice League and the upper lip of Superman looks weird, it's because he actually had a mustache and you're looking at a computer generated image.
Yeah, they had to like...
That is so stupid.
I don't know what happened where they had to redo that scene months after they wrapped the movie. I think maybe the footage got destroyed or lost or something, and
that's the whole problem of the movie
with DC.
See, they made Justice League with one director, and then they fired him halfway through, and then they hired Joss Whedon from Firefly to come in and fix the movie.
Yeah, and so they had to do a bunch of reshoots, and the guy
and by
playing
that
Superman
time,
was on to another role, or was getting ready for another role where he had to have a mustache, and he comes back and he goes, yep, not gonna shave it, so you can spend X amount of millions to digitally take out my mustache.
And a fake mustache, you can get those in the 25-cent machine.
Yeah.
So...
But seriously, how long does it take? I mean, I know some guys take forever to grow facial hair, but I don't think he's one of those guys. that it's going to take months and months to grow a mustache. I mean,
Yeah, I think like 30 days or maybe 2 months to get a real thick mustache.
I don't think it was a real thick one. I don't think it was like Bushman.
It was like
living in-
Magnum PI.
Yeah, but I mean, what is
And it looks stupid anyways.
what is cheaper to do? Digitally take it off his face as Superman, or to put one on his face in the new movie?
Oh, it'd be way cheaper to, yeah. And you would not be able to tell that it was a fake mustache. That's just stupid. But
Because people wear.
I mean, it's not just that though. I mean, the director remade the whole movie,
Yeah.
and it's coming out. I think it's called the Ultra Edition or something, and it's gonna be a completely different movie, the way it was supposed to be. The way that if he had the time to do it.
Just make it right the first time, and then it won't suck, and people will watch your movies.
I know, but if you haven't seen it yet, Justice League, watch the Ultimate Edition whenever it comes out, if it's not out already.
Yeah, and just be happy that Flash and Cyborg made it in for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Because they did, because it was like Cyborg was a regular person who got into a car accident, and they're like, yeah, we're going to make you like a mech suit. And then Flash was an accident at the lab, and then just, here you go, you're on the Justice League with Batman and Superman. And you're like, did I miss a movie? Because I don't remember them
That's
having movies.
exactly how I felt too. I thought I missed a couple of different movies explaining their origins and things.
Yeah.
But no, they just didn't have time to make them.
And then where does Fantastic Four fit? Is that DC?
No, that's Marvel.
Oh. Well,
I
then we won't
believe
talk-
that's the other franchise too.
we won't talk about Fantastic Four.
Everyone hates Fantastic Four.
I watched the new one and I was really confused and not impressed.
Fan Four Stick?
Yeah. I was like, I could not remember if I thought for sure it was.
I remember you rented it, and I said, no, go ahead and watch it. I don't want to watch it.
I thought for sure, because the movie was so not good, it was not quality of Marvel, that I was for sure thought that Fantastic Four was DC. Because that's kind of the caliber of a DC movie for me right now.
Yeah.
Where it's not the caliber. It's not the writing, it's not the jokes, it's not the innuendos, it doesn't have the Easter eggs that the Marvel movies have. I don't know. I just, yeah. And no plans for any X-Men movies that I know of.
I haven't heard of any.
No.
And they might be biding their time. I don't know.
Yeah, like, I know Jean Grey didn't go over very well.
Yeah.
A lot of people hated it. Not exactly sure why, but, well, maybe they were like me, and they were like, it doesn't need to be a standalone, it doesn't need to have its own movie. Yeah, so that might be the end of the X-Men, unless Marvel Disney gets it back from Sony.
It'll have to be rebooted again.
Yeah, and then we'll have original X-Men with Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart,
Yeah.
and then we're going to have the forgotten era of X-Men First Class, and then we're going to have the Marvel reboot, what, 2030, 2040? We're going to be like 70 years old by the time they reboot X-Men.
Maybe they'll get Rogue right.
Where's my Gambit movie? Do you guys set up a Gambit movie in Wolverine, the first one, and you never delivered? Where's the Gambit?
Nope.
Nope. And see, you could
No Gambit for you, Sherry.
You could totally do a Gambit Rogue movie. I mean, they were both from Louisiana, I think.
Absolutely. No, I think she was from Georgia.
Okay, Georgia is like 6 hours from New Orleans.
Oh, they're
so,
totally different.
Yeah, no Gambit movie.
He's from the Bayou.
And you set it up. I don't know if I really liked the guy who played Gambit in the Wolverine movies. I think, and I don't know his name. There was the guy off Lost who had a southern accent that very much fits what Gambit looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have the red hair, but I mean, that's just, you know, have a dye job and grow it out a little bit. Yeah, no Gambit movie, and that was promised 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
No Gambit movie.
You could just do that. Just make a Gambit and Rogue movie and do it right. Damn it. And then end the movie with them joining the X-Men. Whatever X-Men there is at the time.
Yeah, and there was no Gambit in any of the X-Men movies, and no Gambit in the First Class movies. They've completely forgotten about Gambit being in any of it.
I know.
And Gambit
And
was
Gambit,
cool.
by the way, would have been a perfect bad guy for Magneto to be using. Not stupid long hair guy.
Yeah. Dreadlock whip
Because
guy.
if I remember right, Gambit was a bad guy for a long time, and then he joined the X-Men.
He was in that guild of assassins or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with the White Queen, or one of the women that went against Xavier forever.
Yeah, he was in a mutant group that was the bad guys.
Yeah.
But not Magneto.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no Gambit movie, but we got a Jean Grey movie that we didn't really ask for or want.
Well, they didn't do Rogue at all, either.
I don't have anything against Jean Grey. I don't have anything against her being in the X-Men. I just didn't think it was a standalone movie.
Well, I didn't think Jean Grey got interesting until she became Phoenix. And then both movies, both started her out as Dark Phoenix.
Yep.
No!
Yeah, because in the original X-Men, she's like, I can shake things in my bedroom. And you're like, okay, that's cool. And sort of read people's minds. And then she goes all psycho, live in the forest, and kill X-Men.
See, and that's part of the symbiote with her. Because at first she had full control, so she was good. But over time...
Wore down her defenses.
Yeah, the symbiote came closer and closer to the surface and corrupted Jean, really, until she was Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then she loses the powers and goes back to being Jean Grey.
Well, and then you get into the canon of the Shi'ar Empire being in space.
Yeah, where's the Shi'ar Empire at?
Yeah.
Sony. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're
They're
gonna
fully developed. You got Lilandra and a bunch of other people and her Sentinel... What's his name? I don't know.
That's
The
the
big
one.
Sentinel guy. They're cool spaceships that looked kind of Romulan. And they were kind of avian shaped. Beautiful aliens.
Yeah, and then
And completely ignored, and you guys put in stupid zombies instead.
zombie wood people.
That was stupid.
They did. They looked like Groot, but without like the sticks coming out of them.
Yeah, like Groot if he was dead.
Groot if he was human.
An undead Groot. A human undead Groot. Good job. They're supposed to look like birds. With black hair. Stupid.
Black feather hair.
Yeah.
I don't. Then that's where the canon diverged in Jean,
And what about the Imcron crystal? You guys didn't do anything with that.
and that's where
Come on.
that's where the Phoenix was.
Yeah.
It broke out of the crystal that the Shi'ar Empire had, and they were tracking it down because it was destructive. Though that's another movie. That's another review I'd like to do is talk about the Infinity Stones. And
You made a brilliant video about it on Omega Ordain.
I did, but the canon for the Infinity Stones is so screwed up. I mean, when I was reading that, I was like, it was here, it was there, it was a different color, it was with this guy, it was with that guy.
Yeah, the movie changed the colors of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, and
If
where
you
they
didn't know.
were, and where they were, and you know, I would like to do a backstory on each crystal of what it does, who had it, who found it. That would be a good video.
We could make that happen. You guys show us some love in the history of Marvel. We'll fire that show right back up tomorrow.
Because that was kind of when I was watching Endgame and Infinity Stone one, is, you know, Thanos is going around getting them all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you get kind of confused on which stone did what, and where was it hiding, and why was it hiding. You know, you know that each stone has a power, but why does it have that power, and where did it come from? Kind of
Absolutely. Each stone has its own story.
thing. Right.
It's its own story that could be covered in 3 to 5 minutes.
Because you had the purple one that could warp your perception. Because remember, we had the purple one.
Green was time.
Green was time. Red was soul,
Yeah.
I think. And I don't know the rest.
Yellow was the one that the robot guy had.
Right. Blue was the one that
Intelligence?
Thor had.
Yeah. Power?
And okay, so I don't know if you caught this, because it's sort of an Easter egg in the first Infinity Stone one, is that one starts off right where Thor evacuates his people off Ragnarok, and they're in the ship. It's the last of his people, and Thanos comes in, boards the ship, wants the Infinity Stone from Loki, and basically, I think Thanos killed the rest of the... What are Thor's people called?
Asgard.
I don't know if that was right, because when I saw that, I was like, wait, isn't all of the Asgardians on the ship from when Ragnarok got blowed up?
Yep.
Exploded, and Thanos came in and took the Infinity Stone and blew up the rest of the Asgardians on the ship. So is Thor the last of his kind? I mean, if you watch that scene, you're like, well, what happened to all of those Asgardians on that ship?
Yeah, because they picked up Thor in space. He was the only survivor from everyone. They were all dead.
Yeah. That's an interesting little Easter egg if you didn't catch it.
So when they undid the Thanos snap,
they didn't come back because he killed them before he snapped.
And we're out of batteries.
Nice.
And we'll be right back after this.
Alright.
And we're back.
And I think if you watch that the first time around, you don't catch the fact that Thanos just basically killed all of the Asgardians.
Yeah, that's
pretty morbid.
That's a pretty bad thought there, because when they undid what he did, it only undid what he did with the Thanos snap, not the people he just regularly murdered.
To get all the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I caught that. When I think the second viewing, I was like, how did Thor end up in space to get picked up by the Guardians? And what happened to... Because that last Thor movie, they're taken off from Ragnarok in that one ship, all the people he could fit.
Yeah.
And then they're in space, and that's where it starts off with the Infinity Stones, as Thanos comes on and says, I want your stone, and he's like, no, I don't want to give it to you. And you're like, did he just kill all of the rest of the
That must
Guardians?
be why he gained a bunch of weight and sat around and drank beer and ate food, because he's the only one.
He couldn't protect his people.
He totally failed.
And he totally failed. Yeah, so that's a morbid thought. How are they going to make the Valkyrie if they don't have any Asgardians?
Well, we know somehow Loki survives because he's getting his own TV show on Disney Plus. So I don't know. Maybe Loki didn't die and saved the people somehow.
Because isn't the ship all destroyed when Thanos leaves?
Yeah, they were all spaced.
And the other thing I really liked about the Infinity Saga, the two-parter, is the weird mashup of different people that you would never put together.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, you've got Iron Man with his sort of underling Spider-Man, and then he's with Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange is like, I don't even know how I'm here with all you people. And he's like, what's your name? Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using made-up names.
Yeah.
The innocence of Peter Parker with Doctor Strange being this kind of... Because I don't think...
Which, that in itself was pretty funny, because his name actually is Doctor Strange.
Which would be funny if your doctor was actually named Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't a made-up name. But I mean, that was just...
And Peter Parker's like, oh, we're using made-up names.
Yeah, that was funny.
But, you know, I think Doctor Strange not only got the mystical power of time and ancient... I think he got ancient knowledge. I don't think that he's just that New York City plastic surgeon anymore. I think he looks back through time and space. I mean, you've got to glean a bunch of wisdom and insight and be kind of, I don't know, superior to regular people. So he's finding himself on this alien spaceship with this kid who has spider powers and this playboy Iron Man, and he's like, how did I get here? And then you've got Thor, the god of thunder, on a spaceship with a talking raccoon, and who was with him? Groot and
Gamora and
the big guy. Yeah, I can't. Dave Bautista plays him. Yeah, so he's on the ship with the talking raccoon.
a bunch of rejects, basically.
Yeah, space pirates.
None of them have superpowers.
Yeah, and they're in the basic. You get down to the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're space pirates that don't really pillage, but they do pick up things that they might need.
And when we saw the Infinity Stones in the theater, and it popped up the Guardians of the Galaxy in the, I don't know, first 20 minutes of the movie, and it said somewhere in space, I laughed so hard, because that's so them. They don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
They're just flying around in space somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
looking for the next job.
Yeah, and Thor bumps off the ship, and they pick him up, and he's on the ship with the talking raccoon and Gamora, and I think Baby Groot. Wasn't Baby Groot?
He's a teenager.
Okay, so yeah. And he's the god of thunder, the leader of a whole entire race of people stuck on the ship with a talking raccoon. And you're like, that is the weirdest pair-up ever. And I'm trying to think of the other pair-ups. I mean, then you had Captain America with Black Panther, which wasn't so weird. Oh, and then Hulk that didn't want to Hulk. That was weird.
Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk.
Endgame.
Yeah. And that was the other thing they did with Hulk, is they completely sort of forgot that Ed Norton was Hulk.
Yeah, I know.
And then they did
And he was pretty good.
Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. And then that's like, nobody ever remembers that Ed Norton was Hulk in the first one. And we actually just watched that recently.
And that one was a lot more true to the comic book.
For sure.
With Ed Norton. With them escaping the government and
Origin story.
being hunted and all that. I think even being in Peru or wherever
South
he was.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had the Hulk with Captain America and Black Panther.
Yeah. I like those when they pair people up that don't go together.
Yeah.
Like that Next Generation episode with Picard and the three kids and the turbo lift and
Riker and Data, Geordi and Beverly,
yeah,
and Troy in command.
and Troy in command. That was a good episode. That was a really good episode.
And now we're into Star Trek. See, this is what happens when you talk in front of the camera.
Well, it always comes back to Star Trek.
Star Trek or Star Wars.
No, not Star Wars. We don't do Star Wars anymore on this channel.
Yeah.
Unless the ratings change.
Nice. I think I've covered all of my gripes with X-Men not being in the MCU universe.
Is that what we're talking about?
That was the original topic of the conversation.
I thought we were talking about Jurassic Park and Michael Keaton. Why wasn't Michael Keaton in Jurassic Park?
Because I think he's like 70 and retired.
Hey, so if you haven't seen it yet, check out The Founder with Michael Keaton.
What?
You will not be disappointed. That guy was horrible.
What are you even talking about?
The Founder. Michael Keaton played the guy who stole McDonald's from the McDonald brothers.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch that.
What?
How did you watch that?
I don't know. I thought you watched it.
No. I didn't.
Croc. His name was Croc.
I didn't watch that.
Wow. Well, you need to watch it. It's Michael Keaton.
I'm not obsessed with Michael Keaton. How many times can you say his name?
Michael Keaton was Batman and the Founder, and he was in Multiplicity and a bunch of other movies. And he was the Vulture in one of those Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. So give us some comments. Share your Easter eggs or who you might have seen that you thought was crossed over.
Hey, do me a favor. If you make it this far in the video, I just want to know, because my analytics only go so far. It usually just tells me when people turn the movie off, which is usually in the first 2 minutes. But do me a favor. If you make it to this point, I'm going to call you like a super fan or something, and give me a code. Put in like...
Michael Keaton is Batman.
Put in Michael Keaton. Just put Michael Keaton in the comments if you don't want to say anything else, and just to let me know, Omega, and I would really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You know, I'm blown away that 100 to 400 of you tune in every day to listen to me talk about whatever. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. It warms my heart. You know, I love talking to you. When I'm at work, I get 2 breaks and 1 lunch, and I spend that time responding to comments. I respond to comments when I get home. I respond to comments when I get up in the morning. You guys are great. Anybody who wants to talk, talk.
Yeah.
I'll chat up a conversation for weeks, you know. Jackson knows that,
And we're real people. We're not a mass-produced, you know, studio that does YouTube videos. I mean, this is a real conversation about movies that we've seen and different specialities that we're interested in.
yeah. Yeah, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you very much to my Patreon. You guys are awesome. These 2 guys give me money every month to keep doing what I'm doing. I really appreciate it. That warms my heart too.
It's nice to be appreciated.
You know, it really is. It's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You guys take money out of your own pocket and give it to me. That's really sweet. I love it. Royalty-free tube. I've really enjoyed working with this fellow YouTuber. He puts out great backgrounds. He doesn't mind if you alter them or whatever you want to do to the backgrounds. Royalty-free tube. He just likes to get mentioned or put in your description. He's had several people use his backgrounds and not put any reference to them, and these videos have gotten hundreds of thousands of views, and people just assume it's the YouTuber doing it that made up these backgrounds, and it's not.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really important to credit the people who help you do your own videos, and I am a super fan of royalty-free tube. Please, please, if you make YouTube videos, use his stuff, and you know, get back and make sure you credit him for it.
And give back. I mean, give.
The least you could do is put it in the description. You know, you can go one up and put it in the video. You know, I got this background from this guy.
Yeah, recognize an artist when they're doing good work.
Absolutely. And anyways, you guys are awesome. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time.